This year, we grew potatoes 3 different ways: in our raised beds, in grow bags, and using the Ruth Stout method. And today, they're ready to harvest, and we're gonna see which ones grew best. So not only did we grow potatoes 3 different ways, we grew 4 different varieties of potatoes: Adirondack Blue, Norland Red, Yukon Gold, and russet potatoes. And you can see these russet potatoes are still growing nice and strong. That's because they are late potatoes. So we have our smaller varieties of early potatoes, which are early and are ready to harvest. And we have our late varieties of potatoes, which are going to continue to grow for a few weeks longer, and then we'll harvest them when they're ready. So today we're going to be harvesting these early potatoes, and in the same video we're going to be harvesting our later potatoes and then getting a full understanding of which method of growing potatoes grew potatoes best. So let's get right into harvesting, because that's why we are here. We need to know the results. And I know my potatoes are ready to harvest because the plants have completely died. You can see all the greens have died. We've even gotten some potato berries or some seed pods going on here. Gonna want to get rid of those, but these potatoes plants have completely fallen back, and you can see the potatoes starting to poke through. This one's even gotten a sprout on it. It's like, I'm ready to go again. So we're gonna I want to start with this one right here, see if we can just get some out of the ground. I mean, they're popping up, they're ready to be harvested. So I'm just gonna leave them on the soil as I go through, but let's get these out of here. Wow, look at that. Just right off the bat, these are perfect Norland Reds. Oh, that's amazing. Look at the color on these. So you're gonna have to just kind of dig through here slowly but surely. Oh, these are beautiful color, this purplish reddish color. And I think we did 2 varieties in this raised bed. So we did 6 potatoes in this row and 6 potatoes in that row. I'm pretty sure these were the Norland Reds. And then we have the Adirondack Blue in this row. So as I'm working through this harvest, let's talk about what we did to this raised bed to grow these potatoes, because that's the whole point of this video, is to determine which way they grew best. And as you can see, I have other plants in here as well. This kale is looking pretty sad, but I had initially planted the potatoes first as a crop I knew was going to be growing underneath the ground and not taking up a lot of space. And as the greens of the potatoes grew, they would then promote some shade for these cooler weather loving crops. So originally in the season I had lettuce and arugula and kale and broccoli and chard, a bunch of cool weather loving plants. And as I said, as the potatoes grew, they provided coverage for these plants. And now as you see, they don't have a lot of coverage. They're starting to look not so hot. But just take a look at this soil that's in this raised bed. This is the homemade soil that I create and fill all of my raised beds with. And it's a mixture of peat moss, coconut coir, perlite, as well as compost. And if you want to know exactly how I fill my raised beds, you can watch this video right here. But every single one of my raised beds is filled in this manner. And we also used Dr. Earth fertilizer at the very beginning of the season, only 1 application, and that is the result. So giving this perspective on what we're putting into our soil, I think really matters in regards to obtaining a successful harvest like this. I'm gonna keep working through these raised beds, harvesting these potatoes. We're gonna see what we get, and then we're gonna move on to our grow bags. Next, we're gonna do our grow bags. And we actually use recycled burlap coffee bags that we got from one of our favorite local coffee shops. And I'm going to recycle this soil as well. So here's our, oh, look at that burlap bag just fell apart. That's good, that's great. That's what you want. Biodegradable, perfect reusable material. I was gonna take the soil and put it back in there, but now we're just gonna go for it. Obviously this plant is ready to harvest. The only thing that we put in these grow bags is pure compost. That's it, nothing else. I didn't water these at all. Nature did everything. The only thing I did was fill this bag with compost and we're gonna get some potatoes. Look at that, it's awesome. So these are our reds. I don't know if there's anything else in there. So that wasn't a huge haul from that one. Okay, a little bit more. So again, we planted a potato about this size and got all this back. So still a pretty good yield. All right, let's go on to our next row bag right here. Let's see if this one comes apart too. Yep, it sure is. Oh, this one's got potatoes popping out of it already. Look at this, gorgeous. And what we're gonna do is just keep all of the potatoes that we harvested in the grow bags and in the raised beds, and then the next Ruth Stout method just separate, so we can understand the differences in how they performed. This one's a lot better. So it'll give us a nice average overall as to what method grew best. I mean, as of right now, to me, it's a little obvious that the raised beds did better than this grow bag, but we're gonna have to see how the Ruth Stout method performed. All right, that one looks good. Let's do one more. And you see, we've still got some growing here. Same with over there. That's gonna probably be our russet potatoes. Oh, there's salamander went running. This is probably a different variety too, because we had red, white, and blue potatoes, so I went red, white, blue is what I remembered. There we go. Nice. It's a pretty Yukon Gold. These are great size. And we got some under here too. Yeah, that's awesome. Oh, this one's a little wonky. Oh, this is awesome. This is really, really good. I always love harvesting potatoes because you never know what you're gonna get. I guess really any root crop is like that. You just never know what you're going to get. And last but not least, we have the Ruth Stout method. And if you're not familiar with Ruth Stout, you may have some idea based off of the mess that's going on here. This is mostly from our chickens. But Ruth Stout, you essentially lay the potatoes down on bare soil, then you cover them over with a thick layer of straw, about 4 to 6 inches deep. And then once your potatoes start growing their greens, you put on another layer, so you're providing a good layer of protection from the tubers from the sun. So you can see we've already got some just laying around here on the soil surface. And this is gonna make it so easy to harvest. So what I did, because our soil is very heavy clay when it is not amended, as you can see the soil is very dark, I put a very small layer of compost on the top of the soil. Then I put the potatoes on top, and then I put that layer of straw. So I'm gonna have to come back all the way over here. Yeah, see, we just have random potatoes spewed about. And since I planted all 4 varieties, they're not all ready. You can see our russet potatoes are still forming up nicely. So I'm gonna let those go, but I'm gonna try to find as many of the other potatoes as I can. We're finding all the red ones first. But you can see how easy it is to harvest these potatoes too. There's no effort. I just move the soil aside, and I know all of them are gonna be relatively close to the surface because I just put that huge layer of mulch on top. And potatoes really need mulch because if they get exposed to sunlight, they start to turn green, and then they build up these chemicals that are not good for our consumption. So that is why keeping them buried is very important. And it also allows you to grow more potatoes. So this is pretty cool. I haven't done this. Oh, look at these ones. See, here we go. Here's a potato that has started to turn a little green. So I'm gonna have to be careful with this one. It's just chlorophyll, right? The plant is getting exposure to the sun. It's gonna start producing these chemicals to feed itself. But that's a good sized potato. All right, I'm gonna keep working my way through here. Then I'm gonna come back in a few weeks after these plants have died off, finishing harvesting all the potatoes, and then we're gonna weigh and get the total from each method, and we'll see which one grew best. I just finished harvesting the rest of the potatoes, and unfortunately we are a little late with some of them. They actually started rotting because we got a pretty heavy rain about a week ago, and this just may be a strategy that I incorporate in the future. I haven't really had this problem in the past, but maybe it might be better to harvest them a little bit early, even though they're a little bit smaller, but it's better to get a harvest rather than nothing. So unfortunately, we had to throw a pretty significant portion of our harvest away. However, I still think we're going to be getting over or very close to 100 pounds of potatoes. So let's break it all down and see which one grew best. In our raised beds, we planted 24 potatoes, yielded almost 50 pounds, which came out to about 2 pounds per plant. In the grow bags, we planted 7 potatoes, got just over 10 pounds, which yielded about 1.5 pounds per plant. And for the Ruth Stout method, we planted 15 potatoes, got just under 9 pounds, which yields about a half a pound per plant. The raised beds were the clear winner in this competition, but I love doing experiments out in the garden because it just allows us to learn and understand the conditions that all of the different types of vegetables love to grow in. And unsurprisingly to me, the method that took the most amount of preparation and effort is the one that grew best. For throwing some compost in some bags, or laying your potatoes on the ground and covering them over with some straw, you really can't argue with these yields. And to me, it just shows that there are 3 different ways that you can be successful growing potatoes. And depending on how much effort you want to put in, there's something right for you. Do you think this test was sufficient? Do you think that we should do it again next year? You should let us know in the comments below. I hope you enjoyed watching. Like this video, subscribe to our channel to continue to grow the gardener in you. Thanks for watching.